Why the world feared Africa's rise, the truth they never taught us. Before you scroll, ask yourself this: why is it that the richest continent on Earth is portrayed as the poorest? Why is Africa, home to the first human civilizations, immense resources, and unmatched resilience, constantly shown as a land of war, famine, and chaos? What if I told you, the world fears Africa's rise? And that fear was planted, watered, and weaponized over centuries, so you would never know the truth. This is not just history, it's the revelation they never taught us. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will change how you see Africa and the world. Please support us by subscribe, like, and share for more with activating the notification bell. Thank you. Centuries before Europe industrialized, Africa thrived. The Kingdom of Mali in the 14th century wasn't just powerful, it was rich. Its emperor, Mansa Musa, is still considered the richest man in human history. So rich that when he traveled to Cairo with his caravan, he gave away so much gold that it collapsed the economy for a decade. In Timbuktu, scholars studied mathematics, astronomy, and medicine while Europe was still crawling out of the Dark Ages. Trade routes stretched across the Sahara. Gold, salt, ivory, iron, Africa was the global supplier. But the Western world didn't see prosperity. They saw a threat. And to eliminate that threat, they launched the longest and most brutal extraction project in human history: slavery. From the 1500s to the 1800s, over 12 million Africans were shipped across the Atlantic, stripped of names, languages, cultures. But here's what the textbooks don't say: slavery wasn't just a labor system. It was a global sabotage operation. Africa's strongest men and women, engineers, warriors, farmers, blacksmiths, builders, were ripped from the land. Entire kingdoms were destabilized. And Europe profited not just off their labor in the Americas, but from Africa's decline itself. Colonial propaganda said Africans were savages, but how do you enslave and colonize people unless they're a threat to you? And when slavery was finally abolished, they didn't return freedom. They came for the land. In 1884, a room full of European leaders carved Africa up like a pie. The Berlin Conference decided borders, resources, and power, with not a single African present. They didn't just take minerals. They took languages, identities, and truth. British colonizers taught children in Kenya that their ancestors were primitive. Belgian rulers cut off hands in the Congo for not meeting rubber quotas. France banned African names in schools. And Germany nearly wiped out the Herero people in Namibia. But most importantly, they rewrote Africa's story. They never told us that Ethiopia defeated Italy in 1896. Or that Zimbabwe had ancient stone cities and complex irrigation systems. Or that the Dahomey warriors, women, defended their land with ferocity unmatched. Why hide it? Because if the world knew Africa's real story, they'd fear her rise. By the mid-1900s, African nations began breaking free. Or so it seemed. Behind the curtains, Europe and America were already planting new weapons: puppet leaders, fake debts, assassinations. In 1961, Congo's first elected leader Patrice Lumumba was murdered. Why? Because he wanted Congo's minerals for Congolese people. Instead, Western powers installed Mobutu, who drained the country for foreign corporations. In Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah dreamed of a United States of Africa, an economic and political union so powerful it could rival Europe. He was overthrown in a CIA-supported coup. In Libya, Muammar Gaddafi proposed a Pan-African gold-backed currency. Within months, NATO bombs fell. And all the while, the media painted these leaders as dictators or madmen. But was it madness or resistance? Today, Africa is no longer sleeping. Young Africans are leading startups in Nairobi, building electric bikes in Lagos, launching satellites in Ghana. Nollywood rivals Hollywood. Afrobeat dominates global charts. And Swahili is one of the fastest-growing languages on Earth. But more importantly, the truth is spreading. Afrocentric schools are teaching kids their real history. Diaspora communities are reconnecting. Documentaries, art, and music are telling stories the colonizers tried to bury. And nations like Rwanda, Botswana, and Ethiopia are charting new paths, focusing on innovation, healthcare, and Pan-African unity. Yes, Africa still faces challenges, many designed to keep it down. But the fear is returning, not because Africa is broken, but because Africa is healing. So now you know the truth they never taught us: Africa was never poor. It was robbed. Africa was never broken. It was targeted. And Africa was never weak. It was rising. If this story opened your eyes, like, share, and subscribe. Because more untold truths are coming. And together, we're rewriting history, one truth at a time.